Hello and welcome to another We Are Developers Live. We're still in full football mode here. That's why I got my Brazil jersey this time. I got the German one lying here. I didn't get the new one, the German one, because €100, no, that's too much for just a joke. Because, I mean, if I know anything about football, and I don't, it's that things are expensive. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. So if anybody wants to sponsor me the German jersey, the one with the dots on it, please send it to my place in Berlin. You get the address when you contact me. I'm not going to tell it right now.
Is that how we're doing
cool.
it?
So,
is that how we're doing it, Chris?
Well, I mean, is that how I'm doing it? Asking for random things to be sponsored. That's what people do on YouTube, right? Like,
and this is it. This is what I think. We need to start doing that. And if that's what we're doing, I mean, I've got a nice white T-shirt that would look great with 3 lions. If anyone wants to pay for that as well, let's get sponsors. Why not? I love it.
Or just get sea lions. Like the mammals of the sea. Like those two, that will be another option.
Sea lions on our shirt.
Yeah. Wasn't it like Jay-Z or no? Somebody did a white T-shirt for like $6,000 at one time. That was Kanye West, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and I mean, going back to what you were saying a minute ago, though, about the amount of football that's amount of money rather that's going into this World Cup and is kind of being spent. We've seen quite a lot of kind of complaints around the hydration breaks, right? And we were talking about that before the show, that it's essentially ad breaks, right? Yes, these hydration breaks. But my beautiful segue into this is that we're both sat in front of fans and staying hydrated because there's a heat wave going on across Europe. So we thought we'd bring in a couple of other people this week from across Europe, maybe somewhere colder. I'm not sure. What's it like at the moment elsewhere? I only see that it's very, 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 very hot here in the UK.
Well, talking of fans, we got 2 of them coming here today, and that's Nikki and that's Werner. And they're both in Austria, so it should be kind of a similar thing to Berlin, or like not that far off. Although hotter, isn't it? Like normally southern Germany and Austria is brutal.
31 degrees today.
Blimey. Yeah, it's going to be nuts. But yeah, I mean, it's just bizarre. Like, I mean, I guess I've been in England too long that I like to complain about the weather the whole time, but we shouldn't spend too much time on that. So why are you here and who are you? So let me quickly introduce the 2 of you. And what I love about you is you both were CODE100 challengers in the past, and you're married and you competed against each other and you're still married. And that's pretty good. So what do you do in your normal day-to-day life? Werner, what's your normal job?
Yeah, I'm a front-end dev. Actually, I'm just doing front end. Sometimes, or from time to time, I do some tools, some smaller tools. It's Node.js, everything web stuff, actually.
Mm-hmm. And Nikki, what do you do?
I'm a full stack dev, but now my official job title is application manager, and that's some kind of mixing of development and project management.
Okay. Application manager, isn't that the thing that you open when you want to shut down things on your Mac? That they're not working anymore? Like...
Isn't that the task manager?
That's Windows.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, somebody's calling me on Slack during the show. That's not going to happen. So no, not going to do that. Okay, so talking of which, who was that? Okay, anyways, cool. Okay, so let's talk about some of the bits and bobs that we collected for this week. So we go through the hour and then deep dive into CODE100 when we're done. So let me share my screen. Cool. Plus. Share screen, second screen. Share. So I sent you these things before, so you could take a peek as well if you wanted to read up. You probably didn't. But the first big thing that happened this last few weeks is FortiBleed, which is yet another absolutely horrible security issue. And what that will mean is like 75,000 Fortinet firewalls have admin passwords cracked and brute forced, and now they basically all been leaked on the darknet and in other places. And yeah, that means a lot of firewalls are out there. What a lot of things of these news about Fortinet are not saying is like, I looked at the dump and, defaulted firewall, I don't know how much it costs, but I'm quite sure it has quite a price tag on it. And most of the passwords of the admins were password 12356. I'm not kidding you.
Still.
And it's just unbelievable, isn't it? Like, I mean, when you set up things, Werner, when you set up things for customers, like, how can we deal with that? Can we force them to use proper passwords? Like, I mean, there's always the drop-off when we try to make things too secure, but you don't want to give people enough weaponry to shoot themselves in the foot, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, actually, most of the pages do this, right? They force you to do some more strength passwords, and yeah, most of the time this works. For some reason here, it didn't.
I guess the more removed from users it gets, the more obvious it becomes. You know, passwords on hardware like routers and like networking stack machinery or like firewalls and these kind of things, when there's not many end users except for one admin, then basically they don't change them at all, or they just set them to the thing admin. I mean, I tried in hotels when I go there, just go to 192.168.0.1 and try admin, and oftentimes you're just in there and you don't have to pay for internet in the hotel for the week by just setting yourself as an admin and get access that way.
I mean, that's great.
But it's like, it's so sad to see that, like, basically, like, we try to make things secure. We try to make quality software, hardware, and then people make these kind of things. But as a front-end developer, that was my frustration as well. Like, you give people a chance to actually, you write them templates for their content management system that are perfect, that are semantic HTML, that are fast and clean, and then they turn on the what you see is what you get editor or the tag editor of Google, and then you end up with like something with like 6,000 npm modules. Is that still the case, or am I worried about the market too much?
Yeah, actually, that's still the case. Those kind of editors are never good. They just.
I mean, that's why you need people like Nikki to basically do the management bit and say, like, no, we're not going to turn that on for the customer. We're not going to tell them that this functionality exists, right?
Our customers don't have access to the content things, and I'm not doing the content things, but I'm now telling the others how to do them, and I'm showing them how to do them right. And in my company, it's okay.
Okay, that's not bad. How big are you?
We have 150 people here, and we are in the energy sector, and our clients are 1 million people.
Okay, so it's like Eon size kind of thing, but they have a lot more people out there, I guess.
Something like that. Eon is one of our clients, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on in other cities, but Berlin has these fake people running around right now trying to sign you up for a different electricity provider. So there's like people trying to get access to your house by telling that they give you a better electricity plan. So that's a big scam that's happening in Berlin right now. And normally during this time, during the show, every single time at 11:30, somebody would ring my doorbell and actually try to give me access to that. I'm moving away. I bought a house. So basically I don't care about my electricity anymore. I don't know if I paid it the last 3 years. I haven't looked, but like it's interesting to see that this market is like every half year there's a change, and everybody's just like trying to sell you more 24-month contracts that you can't get out of. Talking about backdoors, this is really scary. Dan, have you taken a look at that a bit? There is actually
Amazing.
LinkedIn seemed to have an issue that there's a lot of like job interviews being offered to you on LinkedIn that ask you to do a code exercise that is actually a backdoor.
Yeah. What I really like about this actually is, in typical kind of fashion for a developer, right? He kind of gets a little bit suspicious and then takes a few just kind of mitigating kind of actions just to make sure that, just in case this thing turns out to be, you know, not what it looks like on the surface, that he doesn't end up having kind of major issues. And it did turn out to be essentially a scam. Now the article's really it kind of skirts the line between sort of, the amount of detail that you need to understand exactly how they did it and getting lost in the weeds. So I thought it was actually it does a really good job of explaining quite how surface level this exploit was, actually, in that it was, I believe he ran, I'm trying to remember how he had, what it was he'd ran on it. Oh yeah, he just ran an agent to review the code base, flag anything suspicious. And that the interesting thing is it says it stopped almost immediately at app.test.index.js. So super high level in the kind of file structure, real surface level, and quite clever though, how it was done, through the code being, like it says in there, like a wall of comments to just kind of hide any kind of one-liners that might be suspicious. But yeah, all to do with borrowing identities on LinkedIn. Now, Chris, and I mean, I'll throw this back to all of you really about how does something like this though get to LinkedIn, right? Because this just seemed like where it was around impersonating kind of people's identities. It felt to me like that should be an essential feature in LinkedIn that in some way is one of their kind of gold standard features, because otherwise how do you know who you're speaking to? So I was just surprised that it seemed to actually be quite so simple. And the one little detail that I really did like was that the person who began the conversation as a recruiter who knew nothing about the technicals, they were just passing them a kind of take-home test. As soon as they said, I don't understand how to use it, I think he puts in there something like they switched from a recruiter with no technicals into an NPM expert in 2 minutes. And I thought that's a really easy way to kind of flag up, is something suspicious? Does the person switch, Very interesting though, very interesting.
I think it's quite a whack-a-mole thing to do, isn't it? Like, I mean, trying to get recruiters that are the real ones and not the real ones. I mean, there's also a lot of news on LinkedIn itself where people do like video conferences and people have deepfake videos. Like they have like North Korean hackers look like a Polish guy trying to talk to them with a North Korean accent. So the Polish guy that was interviewing him was basically recording the whole thing and making fun of him more and more and asking more like complex Polish terms that the person didn't know. But yeah, it seems to be like, I don't know how new it is, but it seems to be like the new way of getting access to people's machines by giving them wrong job titles and wrong job interviews. And both sides, I mean, there's wrong recruiters and there's also wrong applicants. And it's just bizarre how that became such a thing that basically our job interview process in the tech sector has become so removed from the rest of the company, from what they do in job interviews, that it became like a geek attack vector kind of thing and a phishing vector. So, Nikki, are you hiring? Are you in a hiring position, or do you join interviews from time to time? Have you encountered something like that in the past?
No, I'm not hiring, but I'm getting recruiter messages on LinkedIn maybe 1-2 times a week, but I haven't seen that yet, for sake.
Yeah. I guess it's like if you're a bigger target, like at Microsoft, it was quite common that we got these fake things coming in, but like at We Are Developers, we haven't yet either. I get fake invites to conferences to speak at that don't exist, that basically ask me then to do a coding exercise, and they're like, who does a coding exercise to become a speaker at an event? But okay, fair enough. Mind you took part in CODE100, so that's kind of like what you did as well. So Werner, in your case, do you take part in interviews? Have you done something like that? Do you get offers that sound fishy?
Actually, no to everything. Of course, from time to time, I get a recruiter telling me something about his company, but never actually had something like this, like install something to, I don't know, help me out.
Maybe that's too new. Maybe sometimes in the future we will get more of that, but now it isn't so popular.
Yeah, I mean the remote help thing has been around for a long time. I remember when in Microsoft, when there was an issue with the computer, you basically called the help desk, and it was some guy in India then like, oh, can you just share your whole computer to me and open Power Tools and copy and paste that stuff in? And I'm like, no. And he's like, but it's the fastest way of doing it. And I'm like, yeah, that's also the fastest way of getting hacked. So I don't know who you are. But yeah, it's pretty bonkers. This is interesting as well that they take the URL and put it just into different fragments. I always wondered about the comma at the end. Like, doesn't that mean that the other can become global variables? Or is the comma doing... I think that was a shortcut that might be an issue. I have to check that out. Anyways, a new programming language is around, which is called Clear. And that is basically the specification and the implementation are in the same file. So what that is actually just a spec in a different syntax that they call a programming language. I mean, if you have worked in enterprise, and I guess Nikki and both you, Werner, you have to do that. You have to write your specifications in a certain manner, and this is basically it. But it's funny how everything that is related to AI is now basically saying like, oh, it's new, and it's like, oh, it's Markdown, and now it's a programming language. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, standards are good, so hopefully there will be something there. But I haven't tried it, but I think it's a cool thing to start with these kind of things. But like every time, this feels like another abstraction on top of running code. So that's a bit of a weird bit.
Perhaps that's unavoidable though, you know, because you're seeing so much now about, I mean, I saw a headline the other day around, you know, and you see it every now and then, don't you? Like the days of actually writing code, even with agents, is just kind of, inevitably going to turn into we're just working with binary, you know, and the conversation is kind of really all around just how can we abstract away code completely, isn't it? You know, whether it's natural language with LLMs or whatever it is. So I feel like in some ways it's natural that you're going to get all of the coding languages or whatever it is that gets developed, you know, at the moment is all essentially just saying it will feel like natural language. You know, I think they're all aiming for that. Yeah.
But I mean, isn't that a step back? Isn't that a massive step backwards? I mean, Werner, you're probably going to agree with me as also a front end guy. What I loved about the front end was like the source code was the executable code. I can do a view source and see how another website has done things. I can do debugging directly in the browser without going to a compilation phase and actually just fix the code where it happens and not just get some minified crap that I can't read and basically wonder why it's going on there. And this was the big thing that made the web the deplatform, like the read-write thing at the same time. And now we're going back to a world where everything has to be compiled, where everything has to be like, I mean, people get super excited about binary code. And at the same time, we have machines that are so fast and have so much RAM that basically you don't need to worry about consumption, but we always overshoot the mark. So it's interesting to see that, like, to me, kind of going back to binary code feels like gatekeeping and not getting people in that are coming sideways into programming. But what do you see of this new world, Werner?
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, we kind of, even in the web, we are kind of in this stage because almost everything has at least one build step in between. Like if we do a React app or something like this, kind of have to build it. But yeah, actually the outcome is still kind of readable, kind of understandable. So yeah, that's completely different, of course. I think this is made actually for LLMs and product owners and not for actual developers.
But that's the thing, like, isn't that the whole premise of AI agentic web, that you don't need a developer anymore? So Nikki, would you be happy to write some Markdown and not to worry about it?
I would let the AI write the Markdown and code it myself. I love coding and I don't want to write the Markdown. So I would do it the other way. I would write the code and then the Markdown is created from the AI on base of my code. This would be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, just in terms of syntax, I mean, you got the end here and the end here. So that's basically like a curly brace in a real programming language. But as it's called end without a label, if you get really complex in that one, that would be really hard to debug as well.
Yeah, true.
Anyways, Lighthouse now actually gives you a new feature about agentic browsing scoring. Of course, Lighthouse being the thing that everybody looks at to make their websites perform great and show up in Google. And I always hated in Lighthouse that it had a percentage, that it says like you're so and so much percentage right, because that made people play Lighthouse rather than just build things that work. So you can make a completely inaccessible website. It gets 100% score accessibility on Lighthouse if you do it the right way. And Manuel Matovic has done that, actually. He's got a great blog post on that. And now agentic browsing scoring is a new thing in there. And people are wondering about this, if agentic readiness is actually a real category or if it's just snake oil. So I mean, we talked about this internally, and people ask us if our website is agentic ready and these kind of things. So do you get these demands already as well? Like, I guess, Werner, when you with customers, do they come up and say, like, what do we do about agents now? Like, much like they did, like, how do I get on first step on Google in the past?
Yeah, not yet. I think it's a little bit too early for this. But I can see the reason for Google to put this into Lighthouse. Yeah, we will see.
How about you, Nikki? Are you worried about agentic readiness, or do you still think if I write the thing correctly, it's going to happen?
I don't know now yet, because nobody asked me about that on our platforms now. But I think in the future, the most information that people get is on AI. And if AI doesn't get the real information from the websites, and this is the agentic AI thing, then it can't pull out the real information. So I think it will come, but it's not here now.
Cool.
Doesn't it feel a bit like the is it HD ready they used to put on TVs, and then it was 4K ready, and it was like, well, what do you mean ready? Do you mean that it just does that? Do you mean it just does that? Like, I don't want it to be ready for it, you know? But it also felt that it's quite clear to people now when you look at things like TVs, if we stay on that, for example, that if you then go and buy a TV now, you can get a 4K TV, 56 inches or whatever, and it'll cost you a couple of €100, right? Not what it used to be. But there's that kind of marketing engine that's behind it, right? And it does feel that, like, at the moment, where we've got so much investment in AI, and obviously there's a lot of people that have got a lot of money on the line and they want to make sure you're using it, then what better way than making sure that enterprise or businesses all get on board and get that FOMO, and they need to compete with their competitors. So make sure that if they were thinking about SEO in the past, sell them this new one of agentic ready, and it's like the modern day SEO. And any company that fancies themselves as kind of up to date, and all of that is going to invest in it, and they're going to invest time into it. And so ultimately, if it is snake oil, there's a lot of people buying it, I would say.
Agree.
Browser use was another one that made headlines. It basically, come again? Sorry. That was an interesting one. It's basically a service that spawns up browsers for your agents in the cloud on a VM, and they actually get the as they don't spawn up a full browser but a headless browser and like a smaller thing, they cut down from like 6 cents to 2 cents per hour when making browsers start and scale faster. So if you're using a lot of agents that actually do web browsing, might be an interesting tool to take a look at. Now, one thing that I found interesting was this article, which makes me, and it had this wonderful quote in it that said, like, what are we paying developers for? Like, what are we doing with code being written by computers and code being written by machines? Why do we actually pay programmers anymore and what they do? And I love this quote where it says, like, paying for software isn't paying for solution, it's paying for someone else to own a problem. And I think this is what makes the difference between a developer and somebody who just builds software or makes software with any kind of tool. That could be an agent, that could be what you see is what you get tool, that could be a framework. But the owning the problem and understanding the problem and then picking the right technology to do it, I think this is where the skill of developer comes in. And this is the interesting, and I think that's a really good answer for anybody who says, like, if your company asks you, like, why should we get more developers, or why should we just replace all of them? Because we're problem solvers and owners of issues, of problems, and not just like people that write syntax or write lines of code. And I think it's very important to do that. Now, Dan, you like this, and it's a pretty bonkers story as well, that somebody actually hijacked the FIFA video stream with his ID. So why don't you tell us what that was about?
Absolutely amazing. I mean, this story is just, it gets more and more kind of crazy the further down you go, really. So I'm just trying to load the page myself to remind me of some details. There we go. So this person had decided, I think the starting point, was that they'd heard about this thing called the FIFA Agents platform, where you could sign up as a football agent, essentially saying you represent one of the players. So this person just decided to try and sign up, and so they submitted some ID and all the rest of it, signed up as if they were a normal agent, and just wanted to see essentially how much kind of oversight there was on FIFA's part. The answer was basically none. He did get his identification requests turned down a couple of times. They said the lighting wasn't good enough. Nothing to do with him not being a football agent, just the lighting not being good enough. And then when he did get into what they call the FIFA data platform, he logged in and he found that he could stream every single game of the entire World Cup from 5 different camera angles. He also had access to ingest URLs, he had stream keys, he just had absolutely everything. He had the output URL, so he could, if he wanted to, essentially just stop the entire stream and stop the World Cup from being broadcast. Now, this is just so insane on so many levels, but more than anything, I would say, again, it shows doesn't really matter how much money you've got. You can do some really bad jobs on securing your applications, but also when something is quite as watched as, around the world as the World Cup, this is a great example of scale, right? We're talking about scale that's hard to compete with, really. So yeah, absolutely amazing, and one of my new favorite websites, because I think this Bob the Hacker does these little stories every now and then, and that's my favorite. Absolutely amazing.
God, can you imagine what was going on in the office of FIFA, the developers that are actually doing the streaming there? Oh God,
it's crazy.
Cool,
absolutely crazy.
Now let's talk about quickly one thing that's going to happen again at our Congress, and that's AWS. We have that every week. There's more information every week. That's why I'm wearing the football jersey as well. AWS does a Football for Good hackathon during the We Are Developers World Congress, and you can actually take part in that. There's a dev post where you can go and sign up for it. We're going to send that in the description as well. It's a 3-day hackathon in Berlin. The theme is Football for Good. This is not about FIFA, obviously, but it's actually about Football for Good and what happens after the game. How can you support new people? How can you actually make sure that people get into football, and what's happening there? Real social impact problems of football and grassroots things. And it's about building technology that makes football more inclusive, accessible, and impactful for communities around the world. They have workshops running on the first day, on day 0 of the conference, and then we have workshops. Then we have the competitions at the AWS booth, and also on the different AWS stages. And you can see the different bits what are happening there. They have an open source SDK you can play with. They can build an agentic full stack tabletop game master application, whatever that is. You're going to have to ask them. And the good thing is that you don't need to know about AI. You don't need to know about programming. You just can take part because you get everything explained during the first day and during the first introduction to the workshop, and you can take part. So day 0 is the kickoff, the theme. Then you build AWS coaches on the expo floor. So there's people around you that you can ask questions and they will help you. And the finalists team pitch on stage, then they get technical influencers, and there's lots of people that are judging this. Luckily enough, I'm not the judge this time, so I've got enough to do with CODE100. But there's going to be interesting people to meet at the booth as well. So it's actually really, really cool. You need a laptop, an AWS account, and a passion for building. You get the credits to actually do so. This is not the trick for Amazon for people to burn credits. You get credits for the hack that you do, rather than just using up your own. And if you can write Python or JavaScript, you can build an agent and you can actually start with working with the platform. I'm really looking forward to that. We probably will get somebody from AWS on the show before that as well, or do some coffee with developer with it. But if you like football, if you want to do something good social in football, this is your hackathon that you can take part in. So come to the Congress, or if you come to the Congress already, you can take part in that. You have to have a ticket for the Congress to get there, of course, which brings us to CODE100 later on, because you don't need a ticket yet. You can just become a competitor and get a ticket. But this is the AWS hackathon. Go there and have fun. This was actually, it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do with that. And I would love to follow up what's happening afterward, what the social impact really was, and what people can build with the Strands platform that AWS has. Okay, that's that. Let's do some geeky things again. Dan, you love this. I started a website and a favicon.
I do. I will just say the feed on my end is very, very pitchy. Yes, you might hear me in about a minute. We'll see. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. If you can hear me, I don't know if you can. I've suddenly frozen for myself. You can. Excellent. Okay, so
we can. All good.
Excellent. So yeah, storing an entire website in favicon. I mean, again, I love this because I like the weird and wonderful stories, and I mean that weird in a complimentary way to somebody who does it. Because what I like is that it's a bit mad, and it's an idea that I don't really know why you would want to do it, but I'm glad that that person did. You know, so I kind of end up saying this so often because I just love these deep dive rabbit hole kind of articles. And again, for that person to store an entire website in a favicon, it's crazy, but it's amazing. And Chris, I know you mentioned that that's also impressive, but massively dangerous, right? To package everything into a favicon.
Well, the thing about favicon is that it gets loaded on every single HTTP request. So if your favicon is not optimized or it's a huge thing, then basically your whole website traffic will be very, very, very high. So and the other thing is, like, one thing about the favicon is, like, if you don't have one in your website and an attacker would be able to actually put one in, that gets loaded on every HTTP request because browsers expect in favicon. They even if you don't have the meta tag in your page, it just looks for a favicon. So you get that at localhost, like when you run a localhost, it always has shitloads of 404s because basically you don't have a favicon there until you put some random file in there. But I mean, this is nothing compared to this one. This was a long time ago. And PO1, we had him on the show once. We should get him back again. He actually wrote this Defender shoot 'em up game that runs in the favicon. So this actually is, I don't know where it's actually running right now or if you can run it. But it was basically, you can, in the favicon of the page, or it actually is running right now. So if I actually use my keyboard, I can play it, but you can't see it on this one. So if you wanted to look up Defender of the favicon, and basically he creates a favicon on demand all the time, dynamically, of a gameplay that he does in a canvas. So this is what you can do as well with the favicon. So interesting attack. I also found that, like, as a former basic programmer, watching football can be very confusing. Just saying that there, like, you had this Japanese player called GoTo, and GoTo 9 means that you had messed up somehow. Everybody wrote basic with 10, 20, 30, 40. GoTo 9 means you were debugging. This is like the console log equivalent of basic programming. So GoTo 9 would never be a thing. Image compression is another thing that Dan and me are always talking about because I'm a big fan of it, and Dan is like, what the fuck is it? And this is a deep dive, a real deep dive on, like, which compression formats are out there, how they actually compress the image, what it means to how the results are coming out. So if you always wondered, like, what to save things as, which at one time was a big thing to get a contract, I remember doing like GIF banners, and being able to do one that is below 10K was like super important back then. And this is a real deep dive in image compression. So if you ever wondered about how that one works, this is something to read up if you can't sleep at night and you want to learn something about image compression. So this is a real wonderful deep dive. And again, I love the web that somebody just puts it out there. Nobody wrote this as a book. Nobody offers that as a YouTube channel. It's just somebody did a lot of research and just wrote it down, made an HTML page and put it somewhere. And we talked about that earlier, like the image formats that we have nowadays that basically are much smaller than the ones that are out there, like WebP, AVIF, JPEG XL, JPEG 2000, all these bits and bobs that are happening. Nobody uses them. When you take a look at the general websites out there, everything is like JPEG and GIF still, right? So Werner, when you build front-end stuff, do you have scripts that pick like do you use Cloudflare or Nginx or something to actually convert the videos on the images on demand, or do you use the different formats on creation already?
Yes, I do. Actually, I do. But to be honest, most of the time I'm only using a WebP, JPEG, and maybe PNG. It has to be lossless. But yeah, I use this, and I do this on my own manually because I want the best result for the file size.
I guess the problem was that WebP was for a long time not viewable on the file system. Like the preview on Mac, like when you press space to watch an image, it basically didn't do anything with WebP. And this is by people thought it wasn't a working image format. They just thought it was basically like, okay, this is a special thing that I need to do, and I can't preview it offline before I actually upload it. So that was the problem. But now it's supported, so that's not an excuse any longer. But it's just amazing how much space you can save. But I guess a lot of people just using Cloudinary or ImageX or these services to actually do that. Nikki, how was it in your case, like with that many end users? Do you use a cloud provider or do you do it on creation?
We are doing it on creation, but most of the time we are getting the right format from the client. We are telling them, I want to have this format and this size, and we are getting them.
I just realized I put far too many things in the show again. But yeah, course, nobody understands it, so it's a big problem. And it's a big problem because it's good. Course is really important for your JavaScript to not be hackable, but it's really tough to make it understandable. Zoom, for example, had a vulnerability where it ran through a localhost proxy and worked around Course that way because localhost is actually whitelisted in Course. So that was the thing. So it's something you need to understand if you really want to be a good JavaScript developer that creates secure stuff. But yeah, I understand. It's a bit like regular expressions. Once you got your head around them, then you actually can do whatever with it. But until then, it's tricky to do. But most developers have a problem with it. Now, Dan is still fixing his camera and stuff. So, and there's two Dans right now here. So I'm just going to go ahead. This is an interesting one. And I mean, I don't know, Werner, if you agree with me. It actually annoys the hell out of me. This is a rack system for your agent that actually creates screenshots from websites. And that is actually cheaper to index a website that way than to read the HTML and find out what the content is. And that to me is like the classic example of like where we've messed up the web, right?
Kind of, yes. I think the issue is that some pages are not 100% accessible. Like they are not using the table properly or something like this. And therefore the AI, if they're looking into the code, don't know if it is a table. So it maybe is confused by its content. I can see this as an argument. But other than
most
this,
data tables that most data tables I see on the web being used are dynamic anyways, where you can filter by columns or you load more content as you scroll further. It's like, it feels to me like taking a screenshot of a table and that way making it readable gives you a snapshot and not like the full content of it.
True. But imagine if you have a website and you have tabulary data, but doing it all with CSS grid, then it's not a table anymore. It's just a bunch of divs.
Yeah. Well, I think that's also the other problem when you start with Markdown, because tables in Markdown are not fun at all. I mean, tables are not fun at all to start with, but like in Markdown, they're completely hard to do. I mean, I had this for about 20 years. I had a CSS table gallery website where I wrote CSS to style tables, and people could send like their own styles, a bit like CSS Zen Garden, but for tables. And that was hugely successful because people did not know how to style tables. And there's so many great things in tables. There's T-foot, there's T-head, there is TH, there's row and column access that you can, if you can really deep dive on the semantics of tables, but it seems like we gave up on that. CompileCat I found interesting as well, staying with the cat thing. That is actually a pre-compiler, a performance compiler for JavaScript that takes your JavaScript and compiles more optimized data out of it. And then you can see the difference here where basically it's 5.6 times faster than normal JavaScript with this hardcore tool here. So just if you have JavaScript that's heavy and you cannot change it and you don't want to change it, it's probably a good idea to take a look at CompileCat to go and try that out. And last thing in terms of tools, which I'm using a lot right now, which I'm pretty excited about, is this one. It's Mac OCR. Now, if you use Preview on a Mac or you watch an image, you can always highlight the text and copy and paste it. And I always found that fascinating and really, really good as well. This one does that on the command line level. So basically, it uses the same internal engine of the Mac, like the libraries that the Preview does as well. But you can point it to a folder and say, like, give me all the PNGs as a text file right now, or convert these 5 PNGs to a readable PDF that's accessible. And this is using instead of using a library to do that, it actually uses the operating system libraries for doing it. So it's just an npm install, and then you just do, or you can even use npx if you don't want to install it. And then you can say, like, give me that receipt and text to std out, or text to PDF, or text to image, and so on and so forth. And it's super fast. And I ran it through like lots and lots of screenshots of like, I think it was like 500 meg of screenshots. And it took like 3 minutes to turn them into a text file. And I was just like, this is pretty amazing. Wow. And it was really detailed as well. So whatever Apple does to make that thing work, you can make work for you as well. Cool. Let's get interactive. So Dan, you're hopefully back. We're not going to do that again. You're going to stay at you're not going to stay at your desk next time.
I think it overheated. I think everything got too hot. I could feel my Mac just going, and it was just everything heating up. I put the fan on it and just panicked, and it worked.
Well. Okay, cool. So we do a thing called Fake or News, which you haven't done that yet or haven't heard about it. I give you headlines, and you have to tell me if these headlines are real or if I made them up. So let's play Fake or News for this week. All right, let's start with the first, and you kicked me out, so my screen is not shared anymore. Let's do that again.
Haven't seen it yet.
There we go. Cool. So first headline. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, something's not working. You guys talk to each other. I'm fixing that. So you're gonna be part.
Yeah, we have the fake on news. That's all right, Chris. You can focus on that, because I've actually been itching a little bit to kind of talk about Code 100. I'm not going to lie, because I think it was actually just after Code 100 last year I met, or maybe even the year before now, Nikki. I know that was when I met you, just off stage. That was my first time meeting you. I do remember. But what I love is that every year we see Code 100, and you guys kind of float around. We either see your names popping up as challengers, or we kind of speak to you beforehand, and perhaps see you kind of submit a kind of answer for one of the challenges. What is it though about, as a couple, what is it about the competitive side or the challenging part? Because I find it difficult to explain to people who don't write code why we do this, and then it's even harder to explain why you'd like to do it in front of 15,000 people. So tell me why.
Go ahead, Nikki.
I think the most important thing here in the Code 100 challenge is I can challenge myself with other people. On work, I can't do that. On work, there is a task to do, and I'm doing it on my own, and I'm doing it for the task. But here, I can challenge myself and see how good I am and where I have to improve. I know that I'm have to improve my whole life in the tech industry, but I can see where I am now, and where are points where I can improve myself. That's the great thing on the Code 100. I can challenge myself with other people.
That's great. And Werner, are you being dragged along then for moral support, or are you just as competitive? Like, what's your kind of how did you get into it as well?
I'm actually on the competitive side. I think it was 2 years ago, there were Nikki was one of the challengers, and the first stage was questions. There were 10 questions, and I think nobody had it right. So nobody has every 10 questions right, and I did, but I was not a contestant. So that's yeah. At this moment, I thought I have to compete.
Is it a bit like when when we watch the World Cup and somebody misses a shot and things like this, and you end up going, "Oh, I could have done that."
Yeah.
And yeah, but actually,
Exactly
you realised you could have done that. Yeah. So how about this year? What was it that made you kind of want to come back then? Was it that obviously not winning it is something that then can make you want to come back, right? But is that important to you, winning it, or is it just, like you say, Nikki, more about just coming away with a few lessons that you need to go and do?
It's not about the winning. It's about the being a part of it, being with other competitors, to talk with them and to challenge with them. It's not about winning. Winning would be nice, but it's not the big part of it.
Well, Nicole, you didn't apply this year yet.
I know, but I will.
Okay, so you're both in there already. I'm just calling this right now. Like, you're both going to be part of the thing, and it's going to be. I mean, I love seeing a marriage fall apart on stage when people have to compete with each other, and like not. See, that's the good thing. And I fixed fake or news, so we can play it now. So let's stop the intro, but let's basically jump into it directly. Okay, cool. So let me tell you if these things are real or if I made them up. First of all, texting a random stranger is better for loneliness than talking to a chatbot, study shows.
I think it's probably true. What do you guys feel?
True.
Yeah, I would
true as well.
It's news, and if a random person texts me, I'm gonna find you and hunt you down. 60% of US consumers say AI in brand messaging is a turnoff.
Yeah, I feel that is the case. Most people are turning against it, right?
Yeah, I'm against it as well. So
there you go.
Yep, it's news. Humanoid robot trained on self-optimize starts moving on all fours.
It feels real, but what do you guys think? Nikki, what do you think?
I think it's true. Sounds true.
I think it's depend on how the robot is built. But yeah, let's say true.
Love it. That's a developer answer, isn't it?
AI
good.
startup Midjourney, you know, the one that did all the video generation, pivots to health with ultrasound machine.
I'm going to say yeah, because there's been some weird pivots, and I could see a link. Imagery. Feels strange.
I say it's true too.
It is true. I read the news already.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's interesting that Allbirds, the shoe company, is now an AI hosting company, and Midjourney now does medical equipment. Like, I guess being part of a startup, you just have to be like flexible, right?
Yeah.
Brave is charging $60 to remove features it added in the first place.
Charging $60? I haven't seen anything about that. It's a browser. No.
Not nice.
Like Brave the browser, right? No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, Brave the browser, yeah. It actually is true. They had like a micropayment thing in there that you can now subscribe, so it doesn't do the thing for you. Attackers abuse ChatGPT share links to host fake outage pages that deliver malware.
Sounds true.
Yeah, absolutely. There was an issue with the links being made public as well. So yeah.
Yep, it's news. Small modular nuclear reactor reaches criticality in first test.
Oh God, it sounds terrifying. So it feels real, yeah. Oh,
yeah, I think this is real as well. And I think I read the news about this, and I also think this is what was planned. I'm not sure about this anymore, actually.
Wow.
It is news. I mean, it's as somebody who grew up next to a nuclear power plant, I'm so firmly against the whole idea of this being the future. It just cracks me up. We're back to the 80s where we sell people dreams that don't exist. Hackers attended FIFA World Cup game for free by taking photos of QR codes on player phones.
I want that to be real. I'm going to say it's real, but I hope it is.
It's fake. It has to be fake.
Wouldn't Danny know it if it's on FIFA?
It's fake. We're training students to write words to prove that they're not robots, and it's pushing them to use more AI.
Wow. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, but I think it is real.
I hope it's not true.
Yeah.
I hope it's not true.
I'd say it's true.
It is true. Apple CSS grid lanes masonry layout proposal causes huge memory leaks on Chrome.
Could imagine that.
No,
I can see this happen.
I think it feels real, but yeah. I know. I want to now, Chris. I've done this now.
I mean, it is. You can make CSS be very, very slow these days with these things. But yeah, that was for years we tried to optimize this. Why it took so long to get a native masonry layout. Stockholm introduces trampoline traffic lights where people create electricity by jumping during red phases.
It definitely feels real. Yeah.
I say it's fake. It's not accessible, and so.
That's true.
I hope it's true.
It is sadly enough fake. It is sadly enough fake. But Stockholm, when I lived there, when I lived in Stockholm, there was an artist group called the Happiness Project, and they did all kind of weird things. They did, for example, in bins in parks, they put a sound in there. When you threw something in, it sounded like the like Roadrunner falling off a cliff, like the coyote falling off a cliff. Or they made piano stages in the train station. When you walked up and down, it played different sounds, and it meant that like 80% more people use the stairs than the escalators. So it was like they do this kind of stuff, but that sadly enough they don't do yet. So that's sad. But I mean, this was Fake on News for this time. We're going to do a live Fake on News at the event as well, and we're going to do one at the Congress dinner as well with all the with all the CEOs and CTOs, and it's going to be interesting to see how they fare in terms of doing that. And Dan is building like a really cool Fake on News app that will then have a proper like leaderboard and all these bits and bobs. But we're right now trying to find a hosting for that doesn't break. So that's the issue. But yeah, this is what we had for this week for Fake on News. We started talking a bit about CODE100 already, and it's great to see that. And I want to drop a bombshell right now that basically we have quite some people who applied for CODE100 already. We need more people. And we also, yesterday, I finally got the email that that we're gonna have as the main prize for CODE100 this year, we're gonna have a Spark Station from NVIDIA, like one of these big computers right now that nobody can afford and nobody can get. And they're gonna give us one of those. You can go and play with one of those at their booth. But the winner will get that one. And of course, there was lots of questions about that. Like they can't be sold to every country because they're too powerful to actually crack stuff. So basically, we have to see who's going to be the winner and if we can send it there. Also, in some countries, importing them would mean they have to spend a lot of money on like import tax. So we want to avoid that one. So the winner is going to get an empty box, but NVIDIA is going to send them the Spark Station once they've done all the due diligence with how to send it to. I proposed that they should send 3 of them to me, and I would forward one of them, but they didn't want to take that for some reason. I don't know what's going on there, but. And if I learned anything from eBay, then a box of something with the right description is also quite a good way to make money. Yeah, rather than just having the machine. But yeah, we got NVIDIA as the main sponsor for the prize. We also got Cloudflare as a sponsor, which gives a lot of prizes out. Also came up with an own challenge that is pretty amazing. And we got TomTom as another partner who actually came up with a great game that people can play as a challenge, as a CODE100 audience challenge. And I wrote a challenge that is based on maps and geography as well to solve. So it's going to be interesting how people are going to fare with that one. And yeah, I'm not at all freaking out about it right now because we got 2 weeks to go and I just finished all the challenges. We have yet to get the computer so I can set up the different environments. But one thing I'm going to change this year is that we're not going to go for the logging in with GitHub and having to send the data to a final endpoint to test it out because too many people got stuck on that one. So we're just going to have PCs with like Visual Studio Code installed and all the languages that you want to use. And then basically you use the command line to try it out. And I'm going to run around as the referee and take a look at what you do and then say yes or no if you've done it. It's going to be much, much easier. So how did the both of you, how did you feel was the vibe of the event? Like, did it feel professional or did it feel like we tried to sort things out as we did back then?
Every time it feels like party, not like business. It's just party hard.
I think it shouldn't feel like business. I think I should feel fun, and I think I should feel like exciting the people and take the people to a journey of coding. Isn't it so?
One thing I found interesting is how many people got stuck with an environment that they're not used to. You know, we give them a PC and we give them a keyboard that is English layout, but they can turn it to any layout that they want to. But so many people got stuck in like not being effective if the computer is not perfectly set up the way they needed to. So that is something I changed in the past. I remember when, Werner, you're a consultant as well. Oftentimes I was on the side of end users of companies, and I wasn't allowed to use my own machine because I had to use computer on in their office, and then I got nothing to say. Like basically, to me, the flexibility of being able to work with any development environment was another thing that made me the developer that I am right now. But it seems like people are much more protective of what they want to have these days. Are you feeling you need to have a certain setup to be really productive, or could you switch?
No, actually, I need my setup. like everything from the keyboard, starting from the keyboards to my screen, to my key bindings and my settings. Actually, everything. Otherwise, I would need, I don't know, maybe a week or two to just kind of feel like I was.
Yeah, Nicole, how about you? Like, are you a Mac user? Are you a Windows user? What do you prefer?
I'm a Windows user, and I don't think that I need much time to change my setup, because in the company I'm using another setup than at home, and it depends at home where I am working. If I'm working in the living room or in the garden, it doesn't matter to me. I'm used to everything. It was something a year ago or so. There I had to use my specific setup, but now I'm used to everything. Doesn't matter to me.
Cool.
An advantage.
Yeah, I've got British setup on my keyboard, and it's a German keyboard because I bought the laptop here. And my partner was trying to write something the other day, and she was just like, she was ready to smack me because she was just like, "What's going on there?" Like, people who are not computer people like she is, basically was just confused that there could be a different way that the keyboard reacts to what was printed on the keys. So she had no idea that this was a thing. I remember there was a viral thing a few years ago on Kickstarter, which was a keyboard that had like little NFT screens on every key. So when you changed the key settings, the key changed as well. But I guess that became too error prone or something. But yeah, it's an interesting one. But yeah, we had people that were completely flabbergasted and actually couldn't solve the problem at CODE100 because their setup wasn't like that. But I think it's an important environment to consider, because as a developer, you sometimes have to help other people and you have to help them on their computers as well. So I think switching from different layouts and different operating systems is still a skill that's kind of necessary. And yeah, I'm not sure. How about you, Dan? What do you feel most comfortable with?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, and I know we've only got a couple of minutes because I know, Werner, you do need to run. But yeah, for me, I was thinking just what you said, Nikki, when you said it depends what I'm doing. If I'm doing video, it has to be my main setup. I've got so many keyboard bindings and things that I've got in there that when I try and move to a laptop, for a start, I don't have enough space on the screen, let alone actually, having my key bindings. But if I'm writing, articles, things like that, I think I don't really have anything special. But if you're writing code, I just can't use a fresh computer. I'm sorry. I like knowing it's even down to the theme, everything exactly how I like it. So yeah, I'm going to stay that way.
All right, cool. So given that Werner has to go and Nikki also needs to go back to work, I guess, and we all need to go back to work, I have to finish the moderator script and invite all the moderators for the Congress, and then I'm going to go to tattoo parlor and get a tattoo done. So that's my plan for today, and then we go into the local Indian restaurant and have some food. So stay cool, stay hydrated, take a hydration break whenever you need to. It's not an ad break, it's a hydration break. And thanks very much, Nikki. Thanks very much, Werner. Always fun to have you around. And see you next week on We Are Developers Live. That was it from us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.